name is Pamela Clark, and I'm the resource teacher for the gifted at Campbell Elementary School in Arlington. I'm here today to tell you about our critical and creative thinking choice menu that we made for the month of May. It's a great resource for kindergarten, first, and second graders to keep you thinking at home. Our hope is that you will choose one activity to complete it each week. You can write the answers to the question, you can draw them, or you can just discuss them with your family. It's up to you. After you're done, if you want to, you could color in the box for the one that you've completed, just as a reward for the hard work you did. In these choice menus, you will find 7 different critical and creative thinking strategies. Our hope is that you'll try lots of different ones and do lots of great thinking. The third page tells you some details about each one of the different strategies so your parents get a better understanding of what they're all about. The first strategy is questioning. When we do questioning, we're making our brain think about how to answer something in a creative or excellent way. For this activity, the hope is that you will find a great question to go with the answer. If the answer is 16, what might the question be? Think about that. How many questions can you come up with? You want to try to be creative and original. Well, you could think of a math equation like 10 plus 6 equals 16. So the answer to that question is, what is 10 plus 6? It's 16. But you could also think of another type of question, like, at what age can people begin to drive a car? The answer to that would also be 16. Be creative and think what the answer could be. There are lots of different choices too. What if the answer was Saturday? Or the answer was never? Or the answer was a movie theater? Or bacon? The next strategy we want you to try is called point of view. When you use the point of view strategy, you're trying to look from the perspective of someone else and think about what they would be thinking. This is great because it helps you feel what someone else might be feeling and think what they might be thinking. Some of the creative ideas we came up with are choice 1 and 2. Choice 1, you're going to pretend you and your friends are at recess, and then all of a sudden, you all become very tiny, only 1 inch tall. I want you to draw a picture of what the rest of recess would be like. Think about that. Think about it, how it would look and how it would feel to just be 1 inch tall. Choice 2 is about writing a fairy tale. Fractured fairy tales written from the point of view of another character. So we all know Little Red Riding Hood is written from the perspective of Little Red Riding Hood, but imagine it were written from the perspective of the wolf. What would that wolf be feeling and thinking and doing? The next strategy is called the Plusminus Interesting strategy. The plus makes you think of all the good things that are happening. The minus is all the problems and things that aren't so great. And interesting are things that are just cool. We'd like you to create a PMI chart for a variety of things to get you thinking in different ways about a certain situation. Think first about learning at home. What are some really great things about learning at home? Well, 1 plus might be you get to have your parents as a teacher. 1 minus would be you can't hang out with your friends. So get thinking and try some of those PMIs. The third strategy is fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. When we use our fluency, we try to come up with as many ideas as possible and make a really long list of things. So in this activity, we want you to make a list of as many words that you can that start with the prefix un. A prefix is a word beginning, and un means not. So first we want you to think about what it means to be unhappy. How might you help someone who is feeling that way? Can you think of some ideas? How would you help somebody who was feeling unhappy? One way that I do it is just smiling. I love to smile at people because it often makes them feel better. Sometimes I like to sing a song. Singing often makes people feel better. Or you could write a nice note or do somebody a favor. There are lots of ways to make somebody feel happy again when they're unhappy. Some other things we want you to think about as you're being fluent, flexible, original, and elaborating on that is you could design a machine that could help you unbutton a coat or an unusual map of an undiscovered island. We want you to add details to that machine that will help you unbutton a coat and labels, or add details to the map to show why the undiscovered island is so unusual. Get creative. The next creative activity is called Scamper. In Scamper, we try to substitute or combine, adapt, minimize or maximize, put to other uses, eliminate something, or rearrange something. So the first choice of activities is thinking about a donut. Oh, and I love donuts. But in this activity, you're going to try to think of a really creative donut, one that's never been seen before. Because typically, a donut's round and it has some icing. Maybe it has some sprinkles on the top. But think what your own original donut could look like and taste like and be like. If I created my own donut, it would be a donut for my cat. I love my cat, so I would make my donut in the shape of a fish. And it would be tuna flavored. And on the inside, it would have cream, and she would love licking that cream out of the center of the donut. It would be pretty small because my cat's not very big, and I wouldn't want her to get a bellyache. See how fun it is to be creative with Scamper? Some other choices are designing a bike that could ride underwater, or designing a hospital for sick patients, designing a menu with unusual pizzas, or designing cars that fly. The next strategy is called visualization. When you visualize, you picture something in your mind. This is a thing that great readers do too. When I read, I'm constantly making a movie in my head of what I'm reading in my head. It's really great to help me understand what I'm reading. But when you visualize, you can also be dreaming of what something could be like. So the first option is closing your eyes and thinking of what the future would be like. Let's try it. When I dream of the future, I dream of a place where we care so much about the planet that we hardly ever use cars anymore, and the cars that we have put out very little pollution. We also have switched things out, which will have switched things out so that the best thing to do on a weekend would be go outside and garden or plant a tree or observe animals. I think our world is such a wonderful place, but I hope that in the future we'll pay more attention to the natural things and care about them. That's what I see for the future. I wonder what you saw. There are some other things that you could visualize too. For instance, you could close your eyes and think about your dream vacation, or your best birthday ever, or a dream bedroom. What would that look like? Or the coolest snowman you could ever possibly create. And the seventh strategy that we're introducing is called making connections. Your brain loves to make connections or links between things. So we've included sets of 3 pictures. In each set of pictures, we want you thinking closely about them. Think about how they're the same or how they're different. Think about which one's most important and why. Think about which one's most like you, or which one's most like your favorite book character or your least favorite book character. Gosh, when I look at the first three pictures, the lion, the mosquito, and the snake, I think about the quiet power that they all have. They're so powerful, but in their own way. I also like to think about the snake being a lot like a book character from a book I just read called Frindle. Now, in Frindle, the character isn't evil or anything. He's just kind of sneaky, and he does something behind his teacher's back. So you don't know, you don't even expect what he's going to do. Snakes are kind of like that too. You don't even see them. They could be around you when you're walking around the woods, but you don't see them. You don't know what they're up to. So we'd love for you to think about these sets of pictures and see how the three pictures in each box are connected. It's great for your brain to do this kind of thinking. We would love to see all the great thinking that you're doing at home, so we hope that you'll take a photo or a video of your thinking and tag it with #@HomeWithAPS or @APS Gifted Services or #APS Gifted Service. We're so glad you tuned in today to learn about our critical and creative thinking strategies for the month of May. Have fun thinking!
Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Trainer. I'm a resource teacher for the gifted at McKinley Elementary School here in Arlington Public Schools. And today I will be reading a story called The Day I Needed Help and sharing a critical and creative thinking strategy called Fluency, Flexibility, Originality, and Elaboration. In this story, we meet a family who enjoys hiking. A mother, father, and son decide to explore the trails, and on the way, they stop to have lunch at a picnic site. After lunch, the boy continues to travel the trails on his own. As the boy is walking down the trail, he spots a beautiful butterfly. He calls out to his parents to tell them to look at it, but they do not hear him. The boy is very excited about the butterfly and decides that he wants to follow it and catch it in his net. Unfortunately, the butterfly is very difficult to catch and the boy trips and falls. The boy fell down a steep hill and his parents could not find him. They called a search and rescue team to help look. Part of the search and rescue team was a dog named Goldie, who was able to smell the boy's jacket and locate him at the bottom of the hill. When the boy fell, he hurt his ankle pretty badly. The ambulance man took a look at it and decided that it might be a good idea to take him to the hospital to get it checked out. At the hospital, a nurse takes an x-ray of his ankle and they find out that he did not break it. However, it was badly sprained. At the end of the story, the boy realizes that his leg will get better and he is very grateful for all of the help that he received from his family, the search and rescue team, and especially from Goldie. As I read this story, I was able to make several connections between my own life and the characters in the story. One of the main connections that I made was for their love of hiking. This is a picture of Great Falls National Park, where my family and I go on hikes together too. As I read this story, I thought that there was a great critical and creative thinking strategy that we could connect to it, and that strategy is called Fluency, Flexibility, Originality, and Elaboration. In the next part of the video, we will talk about what each of those skills looks like and how you can use it to create a fun activity that relates to our story about the boy and his family as they go hiking. For the activity that we're going to try, you need some basic materials, paper, maybe construction paper or lined paper, and then something to write with, maybe crayons or markers, colored pencils. And then to give you an idea of how long the activity will take, the fluency and flexibility tasks will take about 3 to 5 minutes, and the originality and elaboration tasks, which sort of go together, might take between 10 and 15 minutes, perhaps even longer if you really enjoy the task and want to spend some more time with it. The first skill that we're going to talk about is called fluency. And When we think of fluency, we think of the ability to generate lots and lots of ideas. And in the activity that we're going to work on, we're going to organize those ideas into a list. The fluency task that I chose was one that involves creating a list of 15 things you might want to bring if you were going on a camping trip, similar to the one that the boy went on in the story. Now, in the story, he went hiking, but in this case, we're going to kind of stretch the time frame out a little bit and imagine that we were going for maybe a few days. What would be 15 things you would want to bring on that trip? Take 3 to 5 minutes and see if you can develop that list now. The second skill that we're going to focus on is called flexibility. And this allows us to look at something and think about it in a different way or from a different perspective. And we're going to use this skill to connect back to the list that we created in our fluency activity. Our flexibility task gives us a chance to think about how we might put our items into categories. When you look back at your list, will they be things that are basically all the things that you would want to bring? Or are some of the items things that you would need? Are there items that you could eat? Are there items that need to be plugged in? This is the chance to look back at our list and say, did I really bring everything that I might want or need for all sorts of different reasons? So take maybe 3 to 5 minutes and go back and check that list and maybe add to it if you feel that's something you would like to do. Originality is the ability to come up with new and unique ideas. And in the next part of the video, we'll show you what that originality task is that connects back to our story. Our originality task asks you to design a backpack for your camping trip. Now, normally backpacks look sort of like this. So how can you make one that looks a little bit different? It's unique, it stands apart from the ones that maybe are currently out there or currently look like the things you bring to school each day. This is an opportunity to maybe use construction paper and your colored markers to really add a unique twist to your backpack. When we think about elaboration, we think about adding details. We do this when we're telling stories, we do this when we're explaining our thinking, and in just a moment, we're going to share how we use elaboration to add details to our backpack. The elaboration task is going to give us a chance to really showcase the special features of your backpack. What are all the unique little places and pockets and compartments that you've added to your backpack, and how can you show us what they are or what they do? You might use pictures or words or labels or maybe a diagram to help us really understand what makes your backpack such a unique design. As we end this video, we're going to give you some family engagement tips, which are some ideas that we've used in our house for sure to help us apply this strategy in an actual everyday setting. The fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration strategy is one that we use in our house quite a bit. And as the weeks have gone on, we've maybe had a lot of the same food. We've used that strategy to come up with unique and original toppings that we could add maybe on burger night. We do a lot of crafts in our house over this distance learning. And a story like Where the Wild Things Are is a great opportunity for kids to think about all the different parts of an animal or all the different outfits an animal might wear, and they can use those ideas to create their very own wild thing. And Legos or other building materials are also an opportunity to really create some interesting structures. We've talked about making structures for the Lego people themselves, or maybe a structure to fit a stuffed animal. So there's lots that you can do, especially with such an open-ended engineering toy like a Lego. If you have the opportunity to try one of these activities, you're always welcome to take a picture or send a video. You can see some of the Twitter handles and Twitter hashtags that you could post them to. I hope this video was of some help, and that this video finds you and your families well.
Hello, I'm Amanda Dempsey. I'm the resource teacher for the gifted at Hoffman Boston Elementary School. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to share a fun thinking strategy with you today. The text that we're going to use is flies. Let's go over flies to refresh our memories on some of the information we learned from the text. We learned that there are many types of flies, and their tiny arms help them steer when they fly, and their eyes help them see all around. We also learned about the life cycle of flies, and they hatch as a larva and eventually change into a fly. Flies eat in unusual ways. They drink their food through a gross process of spitting goo on the food. They can even spread germs from the things that they eat. Flies can also be helpful. They can spread pollen and help break down dead things. What do you think of flies? I found some of the information to be really great. Although, some of the information I thought was kind of gross. I don't really care for gross things. Some of the information from the text, though, was really interesting. One way we can reflect on all of those positive, not so great, and fascinating things is through a PMI. PMI stands for plus, minus, or modification, which means change, and interesting. I can record the things I found to be a plus, minus, and interesting from flies. I thought the photos that were really colorful and detailed were definitely a plus. What is something from flies you think is a plus? I didn't really like the fact that flies eat rotten things and can spread germs. That was a minus for me. What is something from flies that was a minus for you, or something you'd like to change about the text? The most interesting thing I learned was that flies have eyes made up of a bunch of tiny eyes that help them see all around. What was the most interesting thing for you? Can you think of 2 more items for each category? You may even have more than 2 items for plus, minus, or interesting. What might you PMI this evening with your family? Maybe a meal you had? Perhaps a show you watched together? Maybe you could read a book to your family and then reflect on it through a PMI. Have a great week and enjoy using the PMI thinking strategy.